When you think about dyeing yarn and fabric with natural dyes, things like indigo, cochineal or different dye extracts come to mind. But did you know that you probably have several dye plants in your garden that you can use to create beautiful colorways like these ones? Today I want to talk about 6 different garden plants you can use for natural dyeing. If you are a natural dyeing beginner, I recommend that you have a look at my guide, which is all about dyeing a skein of yarn with natural dyes, and it walks you through the natural dyeing process step by step. It is available completely for free and you can find the link in the description box below. Alright, let me show you some of the plants that grow in my own garden and that I use regularly for natural dyeing. Let's get started. First, let's start with roses. When I started experimenting dyeing with roses, I have to say I was rather unimpressed. The first attempts I made were with these vibrant pink roses. We used to have several bushes in our garden, but the first colorways that I got were slightly unimpressive tans and beiges. However, when I tried modifying the colorways with ferrous sulfate, they turned into a very beautiful shade of gray with a green undertone. I'm going to put up a picture for you so that you can see. So I feel like when it comes to roses, it is worth experimenting. Now, I have not used these roses for natural dyeing that grow in my current garden quite yet, but I had another rose bush, or it was actually a rose in a pot in my old garden, and the blooms were a lighter shade of pink. I'm going to put up a picture for you so that you can see. And when I tried natural dyeing with them, they turned the yarn into a beautiful shade of a very vibrant yellow. So I feel like it is definitely worth experimenting with when you have some roses growing in your garden and see what shades you can get from them. Like it is the case with many dye plants, rose petals will give you different shades depending on when you pick the petals. They are usually creating more vibrant shades in the spring and more muted colorways in the fall. Now let's continue and talk about my second recommendation, which is rosemary. Now, I really like rosemary. In fact, I like it so much that I even named my company after it. It not only looks beautiful in the garden and smells absolutely divine, you can also use it both for cooking and for natural dyeing. So it is a truly versatile plant. I've brought this mini skein to show you how a yarn looks that has been dyed with rosemary and modified with ferrous sulfate afterwards. I'm also going to put up a couple more pictures for you. So if you first dye with rosemary, you're going to get a yellow with a green undertone. And if you use this yarn to later on modify it with ferrous sulfate, you're going to get more of a mossy green. The shades vary a bit depending on the type of rosemary you use, and similar to the rose petals, also depend on the season that you pick them in. Next up, let's talk about sunflowers. Sunflowers are a very interesting dye plant. I have to say I wasn't able to get consistent color results with sunflowers, but I think this is due to the fact that I have different sunflower types in my garden, and of course the colorway depends on which variety you use. I have one example to show you here. So this is yarn that I dyed with only the sunflower petals last year, and the vibrant yellow is the first exhaust and the lighter shade is the second exhaust. Now, a couple years back, I used to have giant sunflowers growing in my garden, and they were really surprising to me because they actually produced a shade of green. I'm going to put up a picture for you so that you can see. There is one variety called Hopi Black Dye that you can use the seeds to create shades of purple and dark gray. I have not tried this out yet, but I'm very interested to give it a try and see how the colorways will come out. Next up, there is Eucalyptus. Now, I only had a small eucalyptus plant growing in a pot in my previous garden, so I wasn't able to dye large quantities with it. But I created this beautiful skein. Now, this was also first dyed with eucalyptus. I used both the stems and the leaves here, and it created a light gray colorway at first, and then I modified it with ferrous sulfate to create this beautiful shade of green. One of the advantages of dyeing with eucalyptus is the fact that it smells absolutely divine in the dye bath. And there are different parts of the plant that you can use for natural dyeing. You can use the leaves, the stems, and also the bark. Garden plant number 5 that we are going to talk about is elderberry. Now, here in Germany where I live, elderberry shrubs grow wild and in abundance all over my surrounding area. They are also very versatile. You can use the elderberry flowers to make an elderberry syrup, which I usually do in the springtime. You can also make elderberry jam from the berries. I have not tried this yet, but I am very interested to trying it out, maybe this year. When it comes to natural dyeing, there are several parts of the elderberry plant that can be used. I have dyed with both the leaves and the bark. If you use the bark, I'm going to put up a picture for you. You will get a light gray or light tan colorway. But I have to say, I really dislike the smell of the dye bath when I use the bark. So I only did it one time and have not repeated it ever since. And as is the case with tree barks in general, the bark has to be soaked in water for several days before you can use it for natural dyeing. When I use the elderberry leaves, they usually create vibrant shades of yellow for me. And they can also be modified with ferrous sulfate to shift the colorway more towards green. Now, when it comes to elderberry, the berries seem to be an obvious choice for natural dyeing. And I've even tried this out in my first natural dyeing year, but the berries are fugitive dyes, which means that they do not last. If you are interested in knowing more about this, I have written a blog post, which I'm going to link for you in the description box. And I've also written a blog post dyeing with elderberry, which I'm also going to link. The last dye plant that you might have growing in your garden that I want to mention today is Goldenrod. Now, Goldenrod is one of my favorite dye plants. It creates this beautiful, vibrant shade of yellow. And the great thing about goldenrod is the fact that it is very potent. Since the goldenrod flowers bloom in the summer, they are great for solar dyeing, which means that you can use the heat of the sun to dye your yarn or fabric without applying any additional heat. You can simply fill a jar with your yarn or fabric and the dye plant and fill it up with water and put it outside where it gets lots of sunshine. And after a couple of days, you will have created a beautiful colorway like this one. In case you are interested in more details about solar dyeing, I've also written a blog post about this topic, which I'm also going to link for you down in the description box. What are your favorite garden plants to use for natural dyeing? Please leave a comment and let me know so that we can all inspire each other. And if you would like to get some more inspiration of natural materials that you can use for natural dyeing, you should have a look at this video where I talk about different kitchen scraps that you can use for natural dyeing. Until next time, bye guys!